I hope we have internet here.
Be willing and able.
Yes, right. That's it. You know, I think are so blessed. We are so blessed that we have, that, in this era, we can learn this stuff. Before
Yes.
a long time ago, it was impossible for regular people like me to learn this stuff. So I think we have a big support here.
That's true. That's true. That is true. We want to welcome everybody to Garden of the Spirit, a class studying apples from the orchard. This class meets in Longmeadow, Massachusetts, the center of the universe, and is held in memory of Malka Ruth Bas Moshe Margaret Vogel of blessed memory. Apples from the Orchard contains selections of teachings of Kabbalah from the Arizal, Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, based on the weekly Torah portion, superbly translated and explained by Rabbi Moshe Wisniewski. Okay, we're up to page 938 in the old edition. New edition, they added a lot of pages, so the numbers will be messed up.
Has it come out yet?
Yeah, it came out in January.
Oh, it did.
Yes. Okay, so today we're at 938. We're at there's the third of the section of Shoftim, which is this week's parsha. Right, like the broken clock that's right twice a day. Once a year, we cross paths with the parsha. Okay, and in this parsha, it talks about the mitzvah of choosing or appointing a king. There are 3 mitzvahs for kings. Am I too loud? There are 3.
No. Okay, my page 497 is the convenience of Leah's higher vista.
Right.
What?
Yes, that's it.
That's it.
That's it?
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, we're good.
There are 3 mitzvahs for kings. There's tea, Rudy. Just I forgot the cinnamon buns. I apologize. You could. You're welcome to come. Right here. Yeah. So there are 3 mitzvahs for kings. When that the king personally has to follow. Actually, there's 3 mentioned here. One is he's not allowed to have an excessive amount of wives.
Fine.
18.
No more than 18.
18
Not one more. He's not allowed to have an excessive amount of horses. That means what's not necessary. And he's not allowed to have an excessive amount of money.
So he can pay his.
He can pay, right?
Yes, to pay. That's.
And 1, 2, 3. Yeah, he might end up $22 trillion in debt.
Yeah.
Something that King Lincoln and King Roosevelt King FDR started us on. And he also has to have his own personal Torah. Aside from the Torah that every Jewish person should have, he needs to have his own personal Torah. So here we are going to focus on one of the mitzvahs, not to have an excessive amount of wives. Okay? Alan, ready?
Sure.
Okay.
Uh-oh, we lost it.
I think we lost it.
No, we didn't lose it.
There's a call.
Go ahead, Alan.
The conveyance of Leah's higher wisdom. He shall not have many wives. This one of the laws concerning kings. As is known, our sages state that this means that a king is permitted to have up to 18 wives. This is based on the fact that when King David had 6 wives, and Hashem told him, I would add similarly and similarly again. I would like to explain this number. Know that the facet of intellect that Zer Anpin received from Abba is vested first in Netzach Hod Yisod of Abba. In order to be transmitted to Zer Anpin, the intellect or mentality of Abba must first be vested in Abba's own Netzach Hod Yisod, or triad of actualization.
Hold on. A lot of big verbs there. A lot of big nouns, like triad and actualization and mentality. um, okay, so there are 10 spheres. Chachma and Bina are intellect, and then Ze'er Anpin is emotion. So the divine energy flows from the intellect and Abba, Chachma or Abba, which is called, the term is Chachma meaning wisdom, and that flows into Ze'er Anpin. However, where does it receive from in Abba? Abba is one of the intellects, not from the top of Abba, but from the lower parts of Abba. If there are 10 spheres, and the 10th sphera stands on its own, Malchus, then there are 9 left. The one numbers 1 to 9, and there are 3 sets of 3. 1, 2, and 3 is Chachma, Bina, Das. Then 4, 5, and 6, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes. And then 7, 8, and 9, Netzach, Hod, and Yesod. So Netzach, Hod, and Yesod are represent actualization. The first triad, 1, 2, and 3, represent intellect. 4, 5, and 6 are the focal point of the emotions. And while 7, 8, and 9, Netzach, Hod, and Yesod, are part of the emotions, but they are in how they are more how emotions relate to being actualized, to actualization.
Mm-hmm.
So what goes into Ze'er Anpin, which are the spheres of, let me go back a minute. So we know that there are 10 spheres, and each of the 10 spheres is divided into 10 sub-spheres. So here we're talking about Ze'er Anpin, which is numbers 4 to 9 of Atzilus, and which are the emotions. So they receive from number 1, from Chachma. But where in Chachma do they receive from? Not from the top of Chachma, but from the bottom of Chachma. The third triad from 7, 8, and 9, sub-spheres of Chachma. That's what it's saying.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Okay, what does it have to do with this 8 life?
We'll get there.
We have to be patient. We'll see. We'll see where it takes us.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Let's go ahead, Alan.
Similarly, the intellect that receives from Ima is first vested in Netzach Hod Yisod of Ima.
Okay, same thing. Ima is the second of the spheres. It's Bina, and it's also intellect. 1, 2, and 3 are intellect. Number 2, Bina is intellect, and it's called Ima. It's the analysis and broadening of the wisdom, and analyzing, and also that what goes from Ima into Ze'er Anpin also is from the lowest part, from Netzach, Hod, and Yesod, number 7, 8, and 9. Remember, even here, Chachma and Bina, the intellect, are called Abba and Ima. They're called parents, and Ze'er Anpin is known as the offspring of Abba and Ima.
They're called what?
Offspring.
Parents.
Abba and Ima are the
Yeah,
parents.
Okay, go ahead.
Then the Netzach Hod Yisod of Abba are vested in the Netzach Hod Yisod of Ima. After this, the Netzach Hod Yisod of Ima, together with all the aspects of divine light that we have said are vested in them, enter Zeir Anpin. These mentalities derived from Abba and Ima are called the image, Selim, of Abba and the image of Ima, respectively. The two
Okay.
sub-sephiros of Malchus within Abba and Ima must perforce enter Zeir Anpin with them, since they are lower than Netzach, Hod, Sod. Thus they are forced into Zeir Anpin by the descending triads of Netzach, Hod, Yesod of Abba and Ima. Thematically, this means that expression, Malchus, is intrinsically tied to the drive toward self-actualization. Netzach, Hod, Yesod.
Yes, so numbers 7, 8, and 9, Netzach, Hod, and Yesod of Abba and of Ima represent actualization within the intellect, and as they descend, they drag, they flush, they pull Malchus along with them, and that is expression, how it's expressed. Okay, I don't know. All right, go ahead.
These two sub-sephiros of Malchus are actually the two crowns of the two sub-sephiros of Yesod of Abba and Ima, as is known.
One moment. What I think it means is that Malchus is number 10 of the spheres. In this case, sub-spheres, Malchus of Abba and Ima. The Malchus is obviously royalty, and yet it is the last, because it shows how one has an influence over another, just same way a king has influence over the subjects. So here too, Malchus is Malchus, Kevin, active shooter situation. The kids brought those bottles to Israel on the trip, and no more. We're not allowing metal water bottles on the trip to Israel anymore because of this. So, white chicks. So so Malchus is a way that these are connected to what's lower than them, just like the king has his royalty, how he's connected to his subjects. The beginning of the spheres, sometimes we count from Chachma, but sometimes we count above Chachma. Above Chachma is Keser. A Keser is a crown, and that sits on the head. So it's not part of the body, but it's above the head, above the body. And Malchus, if you think about it, Malchus isn't only the last sub-sphera, last sphera within a set, but it's also the highest sphera over the next set down. So Malchus has a dual role, just as a cup, because you can fill a cup, but you can also pour the cup into something else. So the cup is a receptacle that something you pour into, but then you can also pour the contents of the cup into something lower. So Malchus is this idea of a cup where it's the lowest, but it also becomes the Keser for the next level lower than it. So, which also means that within a set, there's a line, a direct line between the Keser and the Malchus at the bottom. The top and the bottom, the Keser and Malchus, there is a direct line. Another word for crown is atara, Hebrew, or like tiara in English. Atara, tiara. Yeah, that's how we say it in Chicago. Tiara.
So really, okay, they all go to Yesod, and then from Yesod go to Malchut. So the difference is, from Malchut is kind of transferred to the lower Sefirot of the next or whatever. My question is, okay, so hard for me to put it in the
Yes.
So
Yesod is number 9. Yesod is number 9, and we said that it shows how everything gets transmitted or into actualization. But Yesod is like its own thing. Malchus only has what it gets from the others. I don't understand that I can explain more, but that I know. So Malchus only has what it has from the other 9 spheres. So Malchus really is the link that connects what's above and below. But it does flow through Yesod. Okay? So in any case, it says that the Malchus are the crowns of Yesod, of Abba and Ima. Okay, go ahead.
These two sub-spheros. Now, the sub-spheros of Malchus of Netzach Hod Yesod of Abba or Ima are masculine spheres. They are present in their Anpin for its own purposes in order to act as vessels for its 3 aspects of mentality, as we said. The Netzach Hod Yesod of Abba or Ima clothe the intellect of these partsufim, acting as vessels that transmit these intellects to their Anpin.
The sub-spheros
of Abba.
of Abba and Ima. Okay.
These are sub-spheres. We got to be careful not to confuse them with spheros. Because we're talking very specifically about sub-spheres. Yeah.
Yes. So as we've learned many times,
That may answer your question.
that of the 10, so the first Abba is called the father, male. Ima is the mother. Bina is Ima, the mother, which is female, male and female of the intellect. And then from 4 to 10, so number 4 to 9, 6 spheres, Chesed, Gvur, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, from 4 to 9 are considered the male offspring. And number 10, Malchus, is the female offspring. So here he mentions that the Zeir Anpin, and here we're talking specifically in this case of Netzach Hod Yesod,
And they,
all 6 spheres of Zeir Anpin are masculine.
and these parts of or sub-sphera transfer intellect, the chachma of they transfer Abba, which is chachma, and they transfer bima, the intelligence, to their Anpin.
The Zeir Anpin. Yes.
And that's the flow. That's the flow.
Okay.
And it isn't. You can say they receive as a part of him the intellect, and then they transfer
Okay.
as a kind of you know.
Jim, do you want to continue? 940 at the top. I'm not sure. Clear the question. The short answer is it applies to everything. Because that's creation.
Yes, of course. Everything that's created.
Keep in mind.
And a blade of grass, it applies to a blade of grass as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Keep in mind that Chachma Bina Das, the 10 spheras, are called wisdom, understanding, knowledge, benevolence, gvura, aggression, however, and so on, Malchus royalty. Those are terms. All 10 together describe a process. of transmission. And I'm going to say, although I can't really back it up, I'm going to say that they describe any transmission, any flow goes through these 10 steps. Very often we talk about it as an idea, but in simple terms, when there is an idea, how the idea comes out, how it's developed, and then tested, and then applied. Well, often we speak about it in terms of an idea, but this is a 10-step process that I guess everything goes through.
And sometimes more than we're talking, yes, I understand it goes through that format, but there may be substitute right here.
But it's 10. They don't go through sub, but anything is going to go through. So when it gets Tatsilos, it goes through these 10 steps. It goes through.
I understand it goes through the 10, but sometimes there are combinations within that 10 process.
You can break it down further.
That's what I'm saying.
But they basically are 10.
Basically 10, but can be different types of combinations.
And the words that we use are not accurate terms. They're the best terms that we can describe them in our lexicon, that we have in our lexicon to describe it, but they're technical terms. Think about it. If you have and I can't think of anything offhand, I'm sure you guys can think of something. You know a word that might be common usage, but it might also be used in a technical sense. For example, in law, there might be a common word, but when you use that word in law, you're talking about a certain specific thing. In science, certainly you have a word that people know, but when you use it in science, it's, the word table, right? Everyone knows what table is. But when you're talking about chemistry, man, it takes on a whole different meaning.
Consideration.
What's consideration?
Consideration is a legal term that means this for that. Quid quo pro. It's that quid quo pro. This for that. It's not necessarily consideration.
In the common usage.
I was just trying to get
exactly. Thanks. And we come across these words all the time. So same thing here. Chachma, bin, and das are very common words, but here they're used in a very technical sense to describe this process. An electrician speaks about male and female, not talking about biology. He's talking about connectors, and so on. So this is that's the words that we have. Chachma, Bina, Das, and so on. Yes, but it's for all of creation.
I don't.
Of what? You're stuck in the grass. Anthropomorphic. What I'm going to say is, that too. I'm not thinking that deep. You're probably right. But I'm just thinking that the process for the blade of grass to be created goes through the Chachma, Bina, Das, and so on. Goes through the 10 spheres. Rabbi Milstein? Milstein?
When you look up in the sky on a starry night and you see quadrillion numbers of stars, whatever the number is, right?
Actually, it's about 2,000. what you see. Yeah. Yeah.
I want to see what.
When you think of Hashem creating in a deep sense,
There's more.
and there's more, you get this limitless power, infinite power. So it comes you as far as we can go. The whole universe is created to show us that is a creation of Hashem's thought. And if Hashem's thought is like that, we can get up to a certain point, but we can go all the way up to there. It's even beyond it. Yeah, yeah. So
Do you remember my favorite Martian? He used to keep his finger hidden behind his back, and he would be holding up his flying saucer. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. Um,
We
yeah.
lost it.
Huh?
We lost
Oh no, I didn't know that. The yeah, and what it says is that it tells each blade of grass grow. That's keeping an eye, making sure it grows. So in my lawn, some are very active and some are very lost their lines. Yeah, that's a well-known land. Okay.
Okay, but the two sub Sifirot of Malchus of Abba and Ima are feminine and are not present in Zeranpin for its own purposes. Rather, they cause the parts of Leah to egress from Zeranpin, which is situated behind the Das of Zeranpin. Since Malchut is connected to Yesod, therefore, Leah is therefore connected to Zeranpin at the point behind its Das.
Um,
We had this. Leah.
What does Leah mean?
so let me explain. Leah, Yaakov married
Yaakov's
two wives, Leah
I
and
know,
Rachel.
but what does
Yes.
it represent here,
So-
Leah? Is it a
So again, so Leah is when we say Leah, we're not meaning the person or Rachel. We're meaning the levels that they correspond to, and as we've had a number of times, in general terms, we say that Leah is the level of thought, which is something that is some,
I see. Okay.
something that help me out. That is no, not exposed.
Problem then, what does it? Yeah.
It's behind Das. It's behind Das of Zeranpin. It goes to that point. Leah goes to that point. It's really Malchus, but it rises up to that place.
We said that Leah is the level of thought,
Thought.
which is like in the intellect, Bina.
That's right.
It's the female of intellect is Leah. Just like we call Chachma Abba. So another name for Bina is Leah. And that refers to, or I guess Leah is probably, we're going to learn is more than that as a process.
Yeah, I think
But Leah refers to thought, which is also something that's hidden.
Yeah.
It's
But it's
withheld for the person himself. Let me finish this sentence.
Yeah.
And Rachel, by contrast, is the female of emotions, is Malchus, and also we call that expression or speech when you share what's on your mind.
We talked about Leah and Yaakov eventually joining in Israel and being in a higher form. I'm talking not the person.
Yaakov is the level of Tiferet. Yaakov is the level of Tiferet.
But they're joined in Israel in that space. We were talking at some point in one of our lessons.
Yeah, Yaakov was the level of Tiferes,
Correct.
which is the center of Zeir Anpin. And he, outside of Israel, he sought Rachel, who was below him. But when they came to Israel, Rachel died.
Right.
He came to Israel, and his name was changed to Israel.
Yes.
Then he rose and to the level of Bina, to join with Leah.
Joined with Leah.
Very good.
At that place, which is a higher form Leah is higher in this.
So Bina is feminine, and Malchus is feminine.
Right.
Go ahead.
Okay, so they call it, okay. Since Malchut is connected with,
Where are you?
all right, let me go there. The two sub-sephirot of Malchus of Ab and Ima are feminine, are not present in Zeron for own purposes. Rather, they cause the parts of Leah to egress from Zeranpin, which is situated behind the das of Zeranpin. Since Malchut is connected to Yesod, Leah is therefore connected to Zeranpin at the point behind its das. That process brings it there. Leah is the higher parsif of Malchus, which is what I said. Okay. The Netzach, Hod, Yesod triads of the higher parsifim are vested in the Chochma Bina Das of Zeranpin in a one-to-one correspondence. Thus, the Yesod of Abba and Ima is vested in the Das of Zeranpin. This is why Leah is situated behind the Das of Zeranpin. Generally, Leah is identified with thought and Rachel with speech. Thought is the highest of the three forms of expression, thought, speech, action, and is most closely connected with intellect. We have already...
One moment. So over here, he draws a line between Yesod of Abba and Ima, which is near the bottom. Leah is from Ima. So it's the Yesod of Ima, and connects from there to Netzach Hod Yesod. I'm sorry, to Chachma Bina Das of Ze'er Anpin. Thank you. And that's Leah. It says is up there.
Prior to Tiger triad.
Yes, Nancy, go ahead.
So Leah, physical Leah, she was from Sefirot of Bina.
Yes, but we said that when we talk about this, we should look at it only as a metaphor and not think about Leah herself. We're going to call this level or this process, we're going to refer to it as Leah. It's easier to think, it's less distracting to think in those terms. Okay.
Okay, we have already explained the four aspects of Leah issue from these two malchut as follows. The first Leah is connected to the Yesod of Abba. The second and third are connected to the Yesod of Ima, which close the Yesod of Abba. The fourth is situated behind Zeranpin. Now, the first and third are radiances of Abba. The second and fourth are radiances of Ima. Thus, their order is Abba, Ima, Abba, Ima. For of the two that are connected to the Yesod of Ima, the first is a radiance of Ima, and the second is a radiance of Abba. This simply emerges at that point. Tati talked about that before, how the Abba's Yesod and Netzach and Hod have to go through Ima. We spoke of that earlier. Now,
Tonight.
Yes, tonight. Okay. So now there are four aspects of intellect in Abba, Chachma, Bina, and the sources of Chesed and Gevurah within Das. I got to go through this. Now there are four aspects of intellect in Abba: Chachma, Bina, and the sources of Chesed and Gevurah within Das.
Chachma, Bina, and Das is split in two.
And Das is split in two, which is the source of Chesed and Gevurah. Wow. Okay, and those are the four aspects of intellect in Abba. Wow. All right. So this is a little different than I had before because I thought it was Chachma, Bina, Das. But this is interesting. All right. So even though we normally speak of three aspects of intellect, Das includes within its sources of Chesed and Gevurah, meaning the propensity to accept or reject, because the purpose of Das is to distinguish and choose. This is why head tefillin have 4 compartments. Whoa.
Do you want to elaborate on the accept and reject?
So it distinct. Das is what actualizes in the world and in the self. You can have a thought and its analysis, but it doesn't become part of you or part of your universe unless Das accepts it or rejects it. Das does that. There's an internalization and also could be an external. So Das is that, I don't know, maybe the rudder I can think of, like on a boat. The rudder, it's that which takes all of that wind and sail and storm, the thing that actually is going to move it.
We usually speak about translate as das as application.
Yeah.
If we are flexible in our translations or definitions, then chachma would be, instead of wisdom, would be the core of the idea, the core idea. The bina would be analyzing and developing the idea, and gevura and das would be applying the idea. Now it's not yet actualization. That's farther down the road.
Yeah.
But this is, as far as intellect
As
goes,
far as intellect,
this is the application part of intellect.
I'm talking actualization in an intellectual process. I'm not talking about making it into the world.
Right, not the actual actualization.
I'm talking about an actualization in the self, so to speak.
And yes,
and
so
that's why I call it internalized.
What I'm picturing is, what they say about Edison, that he, what am I going to say, Mr. Science? Edison tested 3,000 filaments for his light bulb. And which one did he choose? Not tungsten? Tungsten.
No, that's
Later.
Oh.
Mercerized cotton thread carbonite,
Really?
which is close to the original idea from student.
So they they asked him, how did you go through so much failure? You know, you kept trying, you didn't give up. He said, I didn't fail. I learned 2,999 ways not to make a light bulb, which that's legend. Maybe it's true. So when I see reject, accept or reject in an application, that's what I think about. That you see what works and what doesn't work. What's judgment? Pura. Yes. Yes.
Which is what we're talking about, distinguishing. It's talking about accepting or rejecting, which is what Das is doing. Das is doing that process. Okay. The problem is you don't have all of that process going on, and you get limited to the to a Das which has none of the light before it. It has none of the chesed, it has none of the Abba, it has none of the Ima. It's just kind of by itself. And that's a bad Das. It's right here in the next one.
I wanted to give another example. There's something called constructivism. As a way of learning, and if I'm not mistaken, what it teaches is that you have to teach the set, but you also have to give examples of the set, but you also have to teach or give examples of what does not fall into the set.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if you're going to teach the color green, you can get a dozen objects that are green, a variety of objects. and you can show them and say green, 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 green. But unless you show
Blue.
other things, a number of items that are different colors, and you say not green, not green, not green, then you can't learn, can't know. You have to show both examples out in the set and outside the set. And that is another example of das, the chesed or engvura within das. This discernment.
So,
What? No?
No,
No.
you don't need to have
2009 to 1.
but there's a radiance that can, like, we just do the next piece and then that's okay. All of these four radiances, which you're talking about, the Chachma, Venus, and the sources of Chesed and Gevurah and Das, emerge as the first layer. The latter three, taking out the Chachma, Bina, and the sources of Chesed and Gevurah, emerge as the second layer. The latter two, that's with Chesed and Gevurah, as the third one. The final one by itself, the states of Gevurah within the Das of Abba, emerges as the fourth. So I say there's a balance in the third radiance. There's a balance in the first three, but not the last one. So which is the most external? First, all the four aspects of Abba's intellect shine together. Then only the lower three. Then only the lower two. And finally, only the lowest one by itself. So I don't think it's balanced. I think it can become balanced if you have all that energy in there. But if it gets misguided or something, it's only peace. That's part of the problem with the states of Gevurah that are rampant all over the place now, because they're not sweetened at all. I'm just pouring that. And that becomes a justification for anything, or a rejection of it. It's a bad,
Okay,
bad Gevurah.
I don't remember seeing anything like this before.
Okay, but I'm just throwing out the. I think it's I think it's original chaos. No, this is a different kind. This is a lack of radiance. I think the original chaos was so much radiance that it couldn't.
This comes from that. The current state of the world comes from the original chaos. You're talking about Tohu?
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure, but yes, it sounds like it's all from the original Tohu. All from the original chaos.
There has to be a real negative piece. That's the only part that I'm missing with the chaos. I think that there has to be a destructive process, a horribleness in society, a horribleness in the world.
Have it now?
I think we do have it now, but I think it's going to get worse. And I look at I saw this image yesterday of Christian patriarch in Jerusalem and the Mufti in Jerusalem embracing each other and talking about how Jews are cancers and need to be killed.
I just read that. I just read that.
I just publicly.
Jim, I just read that in the book of Yoel.
Yeah.
It talks about the, I guess when Mashiach will come, and what will happen to Egypt
Mhm.
and to Rome.
Mhm. Yeah,
Okay, what will happen? Egypt,
yeah,
the Mufti, and Rome,
yeah, yeah.
the patriarch.
But they're going to put up a stink before.
What?
They're putting up a big
They are.
stink before. That's what I'm saying. That energy. Yes, that's what I'm saying to you. That's what I'm saying.
Every
Yeah, real anarchy, civil unrest, total uh, values. I total values are upside down. Identity values, crazy stuff is just
no
going to happen.
truth.
No truth. There's no truth. There's no hierarchy of value. There's the virtues. I'm
Can I read to
just
you?
going to tell you. I think it's
Can
going
I
to
read
get
to you what I got?
yeah.
That's in the book. That's
I
in.
agree.
That's
I agree.
it says that in the book of Daniel
I agree.
at the end, the
I
last
just
chapter.
I just yes yes yes. There's something wrong. Their belief system is nuts. I talked to Heskey today. We're talking about, with respect, about Judaism that's defined as culture without God, which happens a lot amongst our brethren, which don't have Hashem in the picture. Okay, and they might even have a kiddush or they might have a service, but they don't have Hashem. Okay, and it's rampant in American Judaism at this point.
Ready?
Just
All right,
pointing, I'm throwing things out.
The join Jewish voice, the Jewish Voice for Peace, and Code Pink are having a rally this Saturday on the promenade of Santa Monica in support of Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib. These brave congresswomen are coming under attack by people who lie about them and stand up for the rights of the people. More important, we show them the support in their work. Jewish Voice for Peace and Code Pink.
I'm telling you, it isn't as extreme as that. When you have certain,
Yeah.
when you have a conservative, uh, uh, conservative Jewish theological seminary now say that the whole way of dealing with mixed marriage is not to condemn it, but now we'll perform it. We'll perform it.
We'll embrace it.
We embraced it. That's what we're going to do. That tells me, fine, they're done. They're done. You know, it used to be you have to go to reform for them, you know, to get the marriage. Now we'll perform it. So that tells me if it's official policy of
official policy.
That's what Heskey said today. Yeah.
They used to leave it
up to the reform. We're official policy today.
Where it's going is absolute polar opposites. It's going back to the way that it was in the shtetl. You were either Jew, you were either from, or you're not from. There was nothing in the middle. So it's going back to that.
But there was a respect from that. It's like Israel. Some of the people in Israel, there's observant, and there is non-observant, but extremely respecting the process of religion. Okay, well, not everyone. Of course, you got pirates and all that crazy stuff, but you still have a lot of secular people who support it. They were supporting that with the courts system that was dealing with marriage and defining things like that. But the Supreme Court went nuts and appointed a lot of crazy leftists. But there's a lot of pressure, and the legal system is like very difficult there.
I'm going to say this.
But there's still a lot of people who
I'm
respect
going to say this. On the one hand, you see many things becoming clearer and stronger. On the other hand, I don't think there was ever a time where truth or absolutes have been under such attack.
Yeah.
Where, when today you don't know what. Rudy, let me finish. Was there ever a time that people didn't know how to tell the difference between male and female? This is where we are today. We do not know where if you say something about male and female, you get thrown out of the university. You're a hater. I mean,
I mean,
this is where we. This
There,
is how far we've gone.
there's a guy who was thrown out of Evergreen College, Heskey was talking about, who was a pretty liberal sort of Jewish guy. But he took a stand on that very issue, and he was thrown out of the school.
Did you hear the a few weeks ago they had the Democratic Socialists their convention. They couldn't get anywhere because they said he and they insulted half the people
Yeah,
by saying he. Yeah. It's, yes. If your eyes, yeah, if you know what a tree looks like. What does this look?
I like in the beginning of your comment that it is becoming more crystal clear than ever before for those who know how to see.
Okay. What? Yeah. Okay. Let's go ahead. We'll share later. Go ahead, Jim.
Okay, all right. Okay. Furthermore, Malchus of Abba, Malchus, becomes the parts of we have called here the first Leah. Okay. Malchus of Ima becomes the parts of the second Leah. That's what we're talking about. The first Leah of Abba shines outward, breaking through the positions of the second Leah, the Malchus of Ima, emerging and becoming the third Leah. We're talking about that process. Similarly, the second Leah, the Malchus of Ima, shines outward, breaking through the das of Zeranpin, emerging behind Zeranpin's neck and becoming the fourth Leah. Oh, wow. This is known as the knot of the head tefillin.
Okay. Gershon, want to continue?
Now, that since this fourth, most external layer is situated outside Zeram, it couples only with Israel, which is Zeram itself, or with Jacob, which is, as we know, where are we? With Jacob, which, as we know, emerges also from the radiance of Yesod of Abba that shines outside of Zerampin, exactly analogous to this fourth layer. The difference between Jacob and the fourth layer is that the former is male, originating in Yesod of Abba, and the later is female, originating in Malchus of Ima. This is why they can couple. Should I repeat the point?
If you want, yeah.
Now,
Yeah, go ahead.
no. This fourth most external layer is situated outside Serampin. It couples only with Israel, which is Serampin itself, or with Jacob. So she has a choice of this fourth, which, as we know, emerges also from the radiance of the Yesod of Abba that shines outside of Serampin, exactly analogous to this fourth layer. The difference between Jacob and the fourth layer is that one is male from Yesod of Abba, and the later is female, Malchus of Ima. This is why they can couple. Okay. First and third layer, which are Malchus of Abba, and the radiance emanating from it, couple with the Yesod, the male of Abba. The second layer, which is Malchus of Ima, couples with the Yesod of Ima. Okay. Now, Yesod of Abba was embodied in Abel, the son of Adam. He was therefore born together with two twin sisters who embody the first and third Partsufin of Leah. Yesod of Ima was embodied in Cain, who was born with only one twin sister who embodied the Malchus of Ima. That means the second layer. What would have
First,
been
third, and a second. Okay.
what would have been his second twin sister, the radiance of Malchus of Ima, that shines forth outside of Serampin, becoming the fourth layer, is not situated inside Serampin, close to the Yesod of Ima, but rather on the outside. Therefore, does not couple at all with Yesod of Ima, that means Cain.
So Abel, Hevel, had two twin sisters or triplets, and Cain had one twin sister. And then there must be a name for it, the absent one. The one that didn't happen would have been the fourth one. Hevel's two twin sisters were the first and third Leah, and Cain's twin was the second Leah.
One or more.
And the fourth Leah was absent.
No.
What do you call it? Was the fourth was didn't show.
So,
Yeah.
an
So
extension.
what would have been the fourth is not rather on the outside, and that's why it wasn't born to Mary Cain. All right, go ahead.
Mind that all these four Sufi are called Leah, even though they also have individual names, as we will explain. We must also tell you that these four aspects of Leah derive from the inner mentality of their Amphi, which is known as the Tzadik of the Zelem, which has been explained elsewhere and will be explained presently.
Hold on. Before we talked about
What is
Selim,
Selim.
In the beginning,
we
today,
spoke about it earlier today.
Selim is on page 939, which is called, okay, these mentalities derived from the Ab and Ima are called image, Selim of Ab and Ima.
And the word Selim means image.
Image.
When the Torah says that man was created, the image of God, it says B'Tselem Elohim.
let us return to this matter in brief. Know that there are three aspects of the mentality of Zerampi alluded to in the three letters of the word Selem. Selem, Tzadik, Lamed, Mem.
We did have this once before on Selim.
Tzadik indicates the inner mentalities, while the Lamed Mem indicates the aspects that surround them. The inner mentalities refer to the 9 subsephiros from Kesed to Yesod, each compounded of 10 subsephiros, giving 9 times 10, 90, the numerical value of Tzadik.
So the letter Tzadik, the first letter, numerical is 90. So that's because it's 9 sphere, the first 9 times 10 subspheres.
Yeah.
Right.
The numerical values of Lamed and Mem are 30 and 40 respectively, referring to the triad of Keser, Chochmah, Bina, and the 4 subsephiros of Keser, Chochmah, Bina, Das, considered collectively and compounded of 10 subsephiros each. 3 times 10, 30, and 4 times 10, 40. These two ways of considering the intellect and super-intellect are relatively surrounding they do not consider how the intellect is manifested in the emotions.
The word makif, surrounding, means that it's aloof or beyond.
Mm-hmm.
So since it doesn't have like a direct connection with the emotions, it's considered aloof, beyond, or makif.
In contrast, the way represented by the that's considered the intellect manifested in the emotions, therefore considered inner, referring to how the intellect has entered into the emotions.
Interrelated, interconnected.
This is true of the Zelan of the mentalities of Zerampin derived from Ima, and the same is true of the mentalities of Zerampin derived from Abba. Thus, there is Zelan derived from Abba and Zelan derived from Ima.
Okay, we had said that at the beginning. That they're
Well, except that
on 939.
yeah, but from
Well,
So
we
the-
said
for-
each one has
Yeah.
each one has Selim.
all
This
right.
Selim
Each
of
one has
Abba
Selim.
and Selim of Ima. That's
That's
what we
why
had
we
said.
have so many. Nonetheless, know that the term Zelan mainly to garments of the mentality. That means that's a hot yesod of Ima. Went from the from Abba to Ima.
Hold on. The garments of the mentalities, not the mentality itself, but the garment, which is Netzach Chod Yisod, numbers 7, 8, and 9, and Spheras.
In fact, that the numerical value of Zelem plus the Kolel is the same as the name Ekie, spelled out with the letter Yud, which signifies Ima. Ekie, Aleph, He, Yud, He.
Which is one of Hashem's name, Aleph He Yud He.
So we have Aleph, Lamed, He, 111, He, Yud, 15, Yud, 20, He, 15, altogether 161. Selem, Tzadik, Lamed, Mem, 90 plus 30 plus 40, 160 plus the Kolel, 161.
Hold on a minute.
Okay.
Ekia, in the secondary expansion, is 161. gotta remember these numbers. And Selim is 160.
With a kollel, one.
So therefore what?
Dar.
Hold on. Therefore what? Netzach. This is the fact that the numerical value of Selim, I'm guessing that Ekia corresponds to Netzach Hod Yesod.
Well, let's
Avima.
yeah. That's
Hey Yud and Hey Yud. Yeah, I guess that they correspond to Netzach Hod Yesod Avima.
Avima, yeah.
That's kind of left out.
that. Netzach, Hod, Yesod of Ima are termed Tzelem, but the mentality itself, that means the lights, are not termed Tzelem. Relative to each other, the Chokmah Bina Das of the parts are lights, while the Netzach, Hod, Yesod are the vessels, as stated above. So,
What vessels? We also call them garments.
yes, so one triad, the other triad. Netzach, Hod, Yesod of Abba, which also serve as vessels for other mentalities, are also termed Tzelem. For when Netzach, Hod, Yesod of Abba enter Netzach, Hod, Yesod of Ima and are vested in them, as we mentioned in the beginning of this, and the radiance shines forth outside, it must pass through Netzach, Hod, Yesod of Ima. It is therefore also Tzelem, that there is thus a Tzelem of Abba and a Tzelem of Ima, both of which are vessels, that means Netzach, Hod, Yesod. But their respective mentalities are not termed Tzelem.
Okay, it's like
All
a
right.
little beyond me. We didn't really have this involved in these
Now,
ideas.
mentalities are like ideas. The product of this triad goes to Chochmah, goes to Bima.
Mentalities, I think, he didn't translate. I was looking at the beginning where he got it from. Mentalities are something that comes from an expression of the intellect. Something from Chachma Bina and Das is going to be called a mentality,
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, I think mentality is close to lights, and Netzach and the others, Tselem, you're talking about garments and vessels. So you have to distinguish that piece here. Netzach Hod Yesod, you're talking more in the garment vessel area, and lights, you're talking about the Chachma, Bina, Das, Abam.
So I thought I knew what Tzelem is. No.
Tselem is more garment or vessel. The image. It's image.
Selim, we said,
Image.
it literally means image, but it refers to
Goes back, it's
Netzach
the
Hod
Netzach
Yesod.
Hod Yesod of Abba, which
Netzach Hod
is
Yesod.
the image, the garments.
Yeah, or the, yeah, I guess so.
Which is why we're just a garment. We're just a garment.
I would say we pause here. It's like in the middle. Once you do more, you're gonna.
I like, we are just garments. That's it.
Well, there's garments, there's garments.
I know, but some garments are better than other garments. We know.
Yeah, there's a deep one.
This is deep.
Okay. All right.
Well, Nancy,
Nancy?
or we fuddle.
Totally lost.
We're gonna stop here for the week.
Totally